Hey guys, this week I'm going to show you how I made my stand for my Shrinker and Strecher and to make them foot operated. So let's get to it. Alright, so first we're going to start with the base. Now we're using 1x2 square tubing, and then you might notice here we're not building a normal square. We're building this to fit into a spot in my garage that's kind of off to the corner, so we're going to build it accordingly. Now we're adding a second piece of 1x2 tubing here because the uprights are 2x2. Now of course when you lean that over, it's going to have a larger footprint, and we want it to be completely supported on the bottom. Now we will go ahead and weld this out completely, and then of course grind the bottom because we want it to sit flat on the floor. Now we're going to be adding another cross piece here with some vertical uprights for support. That way with the leverage there's no chance of these bending or moving. Now I've used 1/8 inch flat plate and drilled the mounting holes to match the Shrinker and Strecher. You might notice that they're oversized. Now the reason I did that is I want to stagger them off to the left or to the right of the actual upright because the connecting rod is going to be running right there. Now with the foot pedal we're using a 1x1 square tubing, 120 wall. I've taken a piece of scrap 2x2 and some washers to set our exact spacing. I've used some 1/8 inch plate, folded over at 45 degrees, and welding them together to make a nice pedal. And once that's welded to the arms, it'll actually hold the spacing also. So quick tip, when you're using a unit bit or a step bit and you're drilling in, and like these things have numerous sizes, and you want to stop at a certain one, take a Sharpie, mark the step right above it, and then when you watch, you can watch that black ring go around, and you'll stop right before you punch through there. Quick tip, save you a lot of trouble of over drilling stuff. Now Austin's drilling the holes for the pivot point on the foot pedal. Now we're going to be using a 3/8 bolt about 5 inches long and washers in between for spacing to make sure everything pivots properly. Now the tricky part is making sure that it's tight enough that it's not sloppy, but it's not too tight to the point it won't pivot. Now, to mount the springs onto the foot pedal, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch eye bolt. Now these are too long, so I'm going to be cutting them down to a shorter length to fit inside the tubing. Now once these are cut down, we're going to be taking and welding the nut portion to the foot pedal. That will still give us some adjustment of how tall these eyelets are. Now for as far as the spring goes, I'm using just a $6 screen door spring from Home Depot. Next I've taken 4 pieces of 3/8 wide, 1/8 inch thick flat strap. I've drilled a 3/8 hole through all the different pieces, and I'm using a bolt to keep them all aligned. Now I'll be taking the inner 2 pieces and weld them to the connecting rod. The outer 2 pieces will be going to the foot pedal. Meanwhile, keeping the bolt in the whole time to keep everything aligned, and this will create a nice pivot point for me. Now as far as the top goes, I'm going to measure my length, and then I'm going to add 1 inch, so that way it preloads the spring, and then we're going to take a 3/8 bolt, weld it to the end, and cut the head off. Now this is simple and easy, and it will give us a nice way to actually connect it to the handle on the Shrinker or Strecher. Now I've taken the handle of the stretcher, cut it down to about 5 inches, and welded a tab on it. Alright, now that everything is operational, you might have noticed that I did not build the entire base in the beginning. I only built one side. Now the reason is so that I could have everything operational and check my foot placement. I wanted to make sure that my feet were clear of the base so I wouldn't have to stand on the base when I was operating the Shrinker and Strecher. So now that we have figured out this distance, we're going to take some more 1x2 and add another small area on this side of the base to counter the leverage of pushing up and down and keep this thing from tipping over. Now from this angle you can really see how this operates. The foot pedal is doing the same thing as if your hand was operating the lever on the Shrinker and Strecher. But with the length of the foot pedal, it's gaining a lot of leverage, so you're getting a lot more force with a lot less work. Well guys, that's it for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, got something out of it. This stand, I've got about 50 bucks in it, and I know they sell other stands that cost about 150. So if you got some time and some know-how, there you go. All right guys, have a good week. See you next week.